a Playlyst original.
Welcome to the Pilot Podcast,
where we review the pilot episodes of TV shows to answer your question, should I watch this?
My name is BJ.
And my name is Mitu.
And this week, we're watching No Good Deed on Netflix, Secret Level on Prime Video, Creature Commandos on Max, and The Sticky on Prime Video.
So stay tuned to the end to find out BJ's greatest heist.
Oh, you want me to tell everyone what we did?
Okay, why don't you start off by telling us about a few couples looking to buy a home?
You're talking about No Good Deed on Netflix. This comedy follows three families vying to buy the same house, which they all think will solve their problems. But we soon find out that Paul and Lydia Morgan, the owners of the house, played by Ray Romano and Lisa Kudrow, have some secrets of their own. So, Mitu, what were your first impressions?
I feel like this is not a particularly original thought, but this is clearly similar to a Dead to Me. We even have a shared cast member to the Netflix show Dead to Me, where it's funny, but it's very dark, and there's a mystery involving multiple murders, crimes, and fancy homes in a fancy California neighborhood. I think the successful part of Dead to Me, I mean, many parts of that show were successful, but one thing that really worked for it is you focus on that central relationship of the two leads. Whereas in this one, I think this show has heavier lifting to do because like 9 people are introduced in this first episode. So it just feels a bit more dispersed.
It was a lot to take in, especially in a short amount of time. 3 couples, someone's mom, someone's business partner, girlfriend. Someone was also trying to hide their identity, a family member, a mystery behind some other family members. All while Paul and Lydia are locked in a bedroom upstairs while people are in their home.
It was a lot. Like in each little interaction, I mean, they were smart to have the mess introduced in each family because the mess is what tells us what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we're able to distinguish. And I feel like one of the standout couples to me were Carla, played by Tiana Paris, and Dennis, played by O.T. Fabenle, and specifically their mom, Denise, Dennis's mom, Denise, played by the legend Anna Maria Horsford. Like, that family made me laugh a lot. There was a lot of juice in the other homes, and I think it was, again, smart to introduce them by their mess so that you get to know them. But I do wish that we had maybe done like one couple per episode or something, so we could have tightened the POV a little bit so we could get into what is intriguing, both about Paul and Lydia and their past and this mysterious man who has left prison that is a stress on their lives, and some of the mysteries in each of these couples too.
I really like that idea because I wanted to do a deeper dive into the couples, especially like J.D. Campbell, played by Luke Wilson, who's this actor. He has some struggles going on, but we don't have enough time to find out what's going on in his personal life. And I also think the mystery that we get more of with Paul and Lydia, that was a lot. It's very heavy, very dark that they just kind of throw in there suddenly, and it deserves more dedicated time.
It's a very black comedy. Even with the couple, Leslie and Sarah, played by Abby Jacobson and Poppy Lou. Poppy Lou, you will always be famous. I'm such a big fan.
She was great.
Where they both believe that they have stopped IVF treatments, and that may not be true. And the propensity of one of them to do this strange neighborhood watch thing.
That's more than a neighborhood watch. That's all I'm going to say.
It's neighborhood crime, neighborhood nosiness, neighborhood something. And that was very intriguing. And so I wish, similar to the other stories we've mentioned where we get a little taste of the mess, I wish we saw more of that. Why did you stop IVF? Why did you start IVF? What is happening here? Why did you start patrolling your neighborhood in this very specific and messed up way?
And I think we'll get those answers, but spread out across multiple episodes. And so the question is, will you keep watching to get those answers?
I will. I think that this show is fine, which I know is not the most glowing endorsement. I think it's fine. I wish that they had tightened the storytelling a little bit more, but it worked in the sense of, I want to know what's going on in these couples' homes. I want to know what's happening in this central home with Paul and Lydia. I certainly want to know about the death that happened there. And so I will keep watching casually, mainly to just learn what happened.
I'm in a similar boat. I think the show is solid. The premise is really strong. And I think there's a lot of potential as we get deeper into each of the family storylines. So for that reason, I will watch again casually. I'd also like to say the house didn't look as amazing as all the family said it was.
I agree. Ooh, and one other thing about this show, we have a little hint of a real estate agent in Craig, played by Matt Rogers, and he was so funny in that one quick line on the show. I hope we get more of him.
Wow, he made a lasting impression.
I liked him in it.
Well, did you like seeing people in video games?
We'll see, but you're talking about Secret Level on Prime Video. This animated anthology series features 15 standalone short stories based on several video games and franchises. In this first episode, we follow Dungeons & Dragons: The Queen's Cradle.
Yes, I did reference video games. This one is more of a franchise, even though there are Dungeons & Dragons video games. It is that classic tabletop game that Me Too loves and raves about. And now she gets to see it in cutscene quality animation. How was that for you?
It's so interesting when you so comfortably lie. I guess this is the risk of choosing to do a podcast with a man. Men lie.
Risk. Man,
but it
lie.
Just is what it is, I guess. In this case, I thought the animation style was interesting. I do live with a man, my partner. He loves video games. And it looked like the cutscenes that sometimes I'll see if I see him playing a game. Mm-hmm. And I imagine that that is the energy that they tried to capture for this, especially because the episodes are like 15 minutes. So it's like vignettes. I also will say that while I have never in my life played Dungeons & Dragons,
correct,
you've also never in your life invited me to play with you. So
I don't play it.
Maybe that's where I'm missing out. Yes, you have played Dungeons & Dragons.
I said I don't play it. I was very careful with my grammar.
Ooh, listen to men. Listen to the doublespeak, the word play. In this case, though, I will say I do love the movie Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves.
I know.
So not to spoil my review, I think if you're not a Dungeons & Dragons person, if you're not a video game person yet, I don't know that this anthology series is what brings you in, especially because it was very violent, very scary, lots of monsters. It was just a lot to process. But if you do want to check out something in that universe, watch that movie. Very good.
So you do like Dungeons & Dragons?
That film, yes.
There we go. That's all that matters. You're into this franchise. And this vignette, like the tabletop game, is more representative of the type of adventure or story you would see in Dungeons & Dragons. You have the different character types, like the orcs, the paladins, clerics, dragons, the dwarves, and you see the different roles, like we have the wizard, the fire wizard, and it is condensed though. I think that was one challenge for people who are not familiar with this franchise, because they go through a full story arc in these 15 minutes, and they don't give you background or lore to explain a lot of it, even though some of these things, like a particular dragon you see at the end, is something that is popular in the D&D world.
Okay, that makes sense, because there were certain things that happened, and a lot happened, where I was like, okay, I think if I were Hive, like I think if I were in the dungeon with the dragons, and I would eat this up, like these reveals and this fun storytelling. But because I'm not in the Hive, I'm not in the cave, in the dungeon with the dragons, I was simply confused. I feel like I just watched the show happen to me.
That's fair. There are a lot of Easter eggs that were not for you.
Dragon eggs.
Because you're D&D Hive. I know.
Exactly.
So what would you rate this show that is in a franchise you love?
Would not watch again, but if you are a Dungeons and Dragons person, then perhaps this is for you. Or even a video game person, I think this series is probably fun to watch at least the episodes of the games or franchises that you're familiar with. But again, just to sort of triple down on it, if you're not Dungeons and Dragons Hive or video game / franchise Hive yet, as BJ would say, I do recommend the film Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. Chris Pine is really fantastic in it.
I would rate this would watch again casually. Riffing off of your suggestion, I think you should check out the brand or the franchise for each episode and watch ones that speak to you. There's a Pac-Man one, which I think a lot of people might be interested in. There's also some other popular franchises like Unreal Tournament or Armored Core or Warhammer 40K. So there could be something for everyone.
Is Warhammer 40K all one word, or is 40K something different and Warhammer something different?
Warhammer space 40000 is the franchise name.
Oh, like 40,000.
But it's called 40K.
That's fun. All right. Well, why don't you take us from one set of cartoons to another?
You're talking about Creature Commandos on Max, set after the events of The Suicide Squad, the 2021 film, and the first season of Peacemaker. Amanda Waller assembles a Black Ops team of monsters this time, and she calls them the Creature Commandos and sends out General Rick Flag Sr., voiced by Frank Grillo, to lead them on their first mission.
And we must say, Viola Davis steps in to voice Amanda Waller in this guest role.
Yes, she's there long enough to be like, I can't use humans anymore, so I will use monsters.
She loves assembling a group of people that shouldn't be together to put people at risk to purportedly help people.
And she has no problem putting bombs in their head, shock collars on them, whatever it takes.
With that, despite the exciting intro that you've given it, or the exciting plot this intro suggests of Creature Commandos and a general and Viola Davis, not a lot happened in this first episode.
And not much at all. We meet everyone on the team, very quick introduction, and then they go to the fictional country of Pakolistan, who is being attacked by a rogue Amazonian, Cersei. This actually all sounds really cool and exciting.
Yes.
But they spend the whole episode just chilling with the princess.
There's a lot of them just chatting, and there's humor in that. There's a very funny exchange between G.I. Robot, voiced by Sean Gunn, and Nina Mazursky, voiced by Zoe Chow, where they are both standing on a balcony, and she's like, "Oh, it's so beautiful out here." And he's like, "I do not enjoy landscapes devoid of dead Nazis," because I guess he was a robot that was deployed in World War II. And then there are just a ton of jokes where he basically is hoping to have a friend to kill people with. And then they have to kill Nazis with. He said, G.I. Robot has been looking for a friend to kill Nazis with. And Nina was very generously like, all right, buddy, like, sure, if that comes up again, you know, we'll come back to it. And I thought that was a funny exchange. I thought Princess and General Flag were funny together. I thought it was weird to giggle about Weasel, also voiced by Sean Gunn, not being very safe to keep around kids. Because he might eat them, but otherwise, I thought the duos, like the way people naturally broke up, was funny. I was interested in the bride, voiced by Indira Varma, like what's going on with her and Frankenstein. So I guess the focus was to get us to understand the characters, but I wish they had jumped into the action sooner or give us a little bit more juice between the characters. The comparison that you brought up was like Kite Man or the Harley Quinn show on Max, where it's like these other cartoons, but on those, I feel like we got a little bit more juice.
Definitely more plot. I think they intended for this to be a character development episode, and I don't think we learned that much about them past the first 15 minutes. Like, it didn't take that long to let us know what each creature's personality is like. So we could have then progressed to, let's start fighting these bad guys, or let's dive into this mystery that they're hinting with the bride. It was too slow of a build-up.
Yes, especially because the mystery with the bride was so fun. I wish they didn't introduce that genuinely in the last 20 seconds of the episode. A light spoiler. We're not telling you what the mystery is, but I was like, okay, now you have my attention. And then it was like, roll credits.
And it's interesting. I thought it was going to be a cliffhanger, and they're like, nope, here's the answer.
Yeah, that's true. So, do you want to watch more Creature Commandos on Max?
No, I would not watch again.
Really? Even as a DC fan?
I'm a Marvel fan.
You like DC too, though.
Not as much as Marvel. I have never found a DC animated series that speaks to me. I do like the live action films.
I like that Harley Quinn animated series.
So will you watch this series?
I love animated shows, so I feel like I'll probably give this a couple more episodes because that ending was so compelling. But if you are not a DC person, comics person, or cartoon person, I don't think this is the one that brings you in. And I genuinely think my review would be different if it were not winter where a ton of shows go on hiatus. So I also simply have the time to catch a couple more episodes to see, especially where this bride storyline is going.
There's space in your schedule this time of year.
You know, Abbott is gone. Like, all the broadcast shows are gone. I think Matlock had its winter finale this week. Like, you know, I have some openings in my schedule now. Elsbeth this week. Elsbeth Hive Tap In. It was such a good episode. Sorry, now I'm distracted. Broadcast television really delivered this week.
And we'll tell you all about it when we come back in the new year with our best of episode. Best of 2024.
Matlock, don't worry about getting on that list. You're on there, baby.
I am sad that Dune Prophecy is about to wrap up. These 6-episode miniseries are too short.
That's true. Bring back shows you can live in.
At least give us the 13-episode streaming series.
Real. Okay, we're distracted. So I'm going to bring us back, and specifically to Canada, with The Sticky on Prime Video.
Love it.
Loosely based on the Great Canadian Maple Syrup Heist, one of the most Canadian things I've ever said. Mm-hmm. This show follows Ruth, played by Margot Martindale, who learns her farm is being shut down and plots to steal millions of dollars of maple syrup as revenge.
An interesting thing we agreed on as we were discussing this show is we understand Ruth's decision to steal millions of dollars of maple syrup as revenge.
Yeah, you'll never hear me sort of excuse behavior like this.
It's still theft, yeah.
I don't endorse behavior like this.
Don't commit crimes.
But I did write, Ruth has a point here.
It makes sense.
That was my first point in these notes. I understand. I don't have to excuse it or validate it to understand it. I said, Ruth, go get your money.
Right. And to help our listeners understand, Ruth's husband is in a coma, and he is the owner of a maple syrup farm. And Ruth is now in legal trouble with the Quebec Maple Association, who says that Ruth is running it illegally since her name is not on the paperwork. And now she has to fight back against someone who I think is just really mean, Leonard Sr.
Leonard is so evil that it's almost difficult to watch the show because you're so aggressively rooting against him and for the people who do the crime. But obviously, if they're making this show, these people got caught. And this is an exaggeration. So this show is very loosely based. We don't know if there was actually a Ruth, and I did not Google it before. So
inspired by true events.
Yes. But in this case, with Leonard and all this red tape and micromanagement, and we learned that apparently the Canadians and the maple syrup, they're out here smuggling, they're out here selling stuff on the side.
It's serious.
And Ruth's farm is one of the only, it seems, at least that we're introduced to, where none of that side business stuff is happening. her husband makes her promise, and he makes Mike, played by Chris Diamantopoulos, a Boston crime guy thug.
In Canada.
In Canada. He basically makes them promise, don't smuggle my stuff. Don't
legit.
do anything nefarious with my things. And so she's trying to run a legitimate business, and she is in a position where she can't. And Leonard is being exploitive. He offers her money to buy out the farm, knowing that's not the solution here. And then he tries to lowball her. And when he lowballed her, when he called her back to lowball her, I was like, Ruth, you better go in there and steal every barrel of maple syrup in that factory.
Which is where we bring in Remy,
played by Guillaume Cyr,
who also was trying to follow the rules. He works for the Quebec Maple Association, guarding this stockpile of millions of dollars of maple syrup. And at first, he just wanted more people on his team to protect these valuable assets. But he's not getting the respect or attention he deserved from the senior leadership in this association. So now he's ready to go from smuggling 1 barrel of syrup a month to, I guess, selling millions of dollars all at once. We didn't get a time frame yet. But he's going to team up with Ruth and Mike, and I'm okay with it.
He tried to tell them, you have vulnerabilities.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to do a good job, be a hard worker, be a good worker. Here's a presentation. Why I need more people.
Mm-hmm.
I want this place to be better and more secure. They would not even hear him on it. And sometimes you have to show people better than you can tell them.
Mm-hmm. Show, don't tell.
He's about to show them that they actually should have invested in their security, that they're about to lose millions of dollars.
Remy is the vulnerability. You made him more vulnerable. Now you suffer.
When you could have promoted him, you could have listened to his presentation, and you would have only been losing that 1 barrel a month that you haven't even noticed.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes me think of one other thing about this show. It is funny. It's a very black comedy. There is a death right at the beginning of this episode. We are introduced to a body. I assume that person has been murdered. It did not look particularly natural otherwise for how they would end up where they were. So it is scary and dark and very dramatic, but also funny. And specifically, the character that made me laugh most was Ruth.
I'm still laughing that you're keeping it open that wasn't a murder.
Maybe you slip and fall in a deeply specific and unfortunate way.
It is possible. Anything is possible, so that is possible.
What a motivating thing for you to say. Anything is possible.
True. And this is a dark, black comedy, but I don't mind it. I think you need some of that grit to go with the revenge plotline, because this is about people who have been disrespected by the Quebec Maple Association.
Yeah.
And now it's their moment to shine, although maybe it won't end well. But at least they're trying.
At least they're trying. They're moving the needle where the Quebec Maple Association was trying to stop progress completely.
We don't like when people try to stop progress.
Exactly. And yet, we don't endorse theft.
True. Don't steal millions of dollars of maple syrup for revenge.
Though maple syrup, I was not familiar with your game. I did not know you were this valuable.
You didn't know these barrels were worth so much.
Yeah.
So, Me Too, now that you know more about maple syrup, will you watch more episodes of The Sticky on Prime Video?
Yes. If you are a true crime person, I am not, but I know y'all are out here in droves. If you are a person who enjoys a dark comedy, I think you'll like this one. I don't mind a dark comedy. I am a little scared it'll get too dark based on that opening scene with that person, but I will keep watching because I'm very intrigued to learn what happens. And I'm really, really rooting for Ruth, even though I kind of know or assume that she'll get caught. So I'll watch again casually.
I also will watch again casually. I am curious to see Ruth on this journey. I want better for Remy. So I will follow them along on this. And I want to know more about Mike because
Yes.
there's a dark side to him that really surprised me.
And where did you come from, buddy?
Yeah, are you from Boston? Why are you in Canada?
All right. So, Beach, what was your greatest heist?
Our greatest heist.
Okay, I've never stolen anything.
Our greatest heist is when we stole amazing memories from Duke University.
Oh, okay. Yes. We shared many great memories.
We stole them.
Sure.
That's it.
All right. Where can people steal great times from listening to the Pilot Podcast?
We offer them up for free, so you don't even have to steal them on our website at thepilotpodcast.com, or go ahead and grab them right from your favorite podcast platform.
You can also follow us on social media at The Pilot Pod, and you can send thoughts, feelings, show recommendations, because every other week we do a show recommended by you, our wonderful listeners, to askthepilotpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.
Bye.